Hello, everyone. Lovely to be here with you today on episode 27 of Wild Woman podcast. I'm just thinking of that now. And I'm delighted to welcome back. This, I think, is the first guest I've welcomed back, who I had a beautiful conversation with 7 months ago. So if you haven't heard it and would like to get a little bit more of a sense of Jen, which you will today, do take a look back. It's all on my YouTube channel under and on Spotify under the Wild Woman podcast. So Jenifer Taylor is based in Lincolnshire in the UK. Sorry,
Leicestershire.
Leicestershire, sorry. I've been interviewing a lot of women from the UK, which is a lovely, lovely connection. So apologies, I'm in Ireland, so my geography. But I know Jen back since, I suppose, 2020, we connected online. And since then, I just keep feeling that the last number of years have really shown the power of the energetic connections we have with people because we haven't met in person. And yet I feel a very strong connection with Jen. And it's just such a beautiful, like, soul sense of relationship. But today, welcoming back Jen. Jen is a holistic therapist with many, many skills, and I'm not going to name them out here. I'm going to let Jen talk a little bit about what has been happening for her in the 7 months, because I think we can all agree that life is moving at a pace and there is a lot of change. So maybe Jen, to start, and maybe by talking about what has shifted for you, and then maybe how for the listeners and the audience, talk about how you can and support them, because that's what we're here to do. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for that beautiful, warm introduction. Yeah, Lincolnshire's next door to Leicestershire, so it's fine.
Not too bad.
I was so excited to be here again, and I agree, on a soul level, you really do feel like we've known each other in a past life. And, it's like catching up with an old friend that I've known for many, many, many years in another lifetime. But it's really interesting because last time I did the conversation with you, and I won't go into it again because it's in the previous YouTube, is when I lost my tooth. And then I said to you, it's really weird because on Thursday I've had the proper implant put into place, and I feel that journey is ended. But I feel like that when it happened to me was so powerful, very, very powerful. Because I remember listening at the time to this other guy on YouTube called Tony Sayers, and he talks a lot about how the New Age movement has been put into place as a trap for people that are beginning to awaken and open up. And a lot of the truth is there, but it's watered down versions, and then there's a lot of stuff being added to it. And one of the things that he said to me that really struck a chord was, he said, sometimes in life we have to face things head on and with courage and just get through it and do it. And I thought, oh my gosh, that couldn't have been even so powerful, because my fear has always been the dentist. And when my tooth was broken, I thought, I can't run around or hide or stick my head underneath in the sand. I've got to deal with this. And the only way I'm going to deal with it is with courage. And from that, it's really been so empowering to face my fear, get through it with courage, and come out the other end where I actually hugged the dentist and said, you're blooming marvelous. And so therefore, another conversation I've had for over the last few months is with Ola Wonley. And again, she says to me, she goes, what is based on what you've read, and what is based on what is your truth, and your truth is what you've experienced. And that was the whole emphasis of today, which I'd like to share with you. And it's about doors opening and doors closing. And one of the things I have found in the last, since 2020, is keeping a journal. And I started to write in the journal. It's dated the 18th of April, 2024. And I was writing, but I've literally wrote about 8 pages. And originally I said to you, oh, I'm going to read it out. And then it shows about doors opening, doors closing. But as I was looking through the pages, some of it is pretty like I've poured my heart and soul into it. And I really don't want to share my heart and soul. So, because it is, but it's made me realize by writing it all down, how that's how I came to at the end of writing it, how doors open and doors close for a reason. Things come to its natural end. Things don't happen for us, and there's a reason behind it, because on our higher self is not part and parcel of what, or we've done it and so forth. And I found it quite empowering. So if I may read to you the what I first, my earliest memory. So I wrote, when I look back, my earliest memory was placing my hands on Granny Keen's nursery home lady. The room was filled with so much light, and it seemed the most natural thing in the world to do. And bear in mind, I was only about 3.5, maybe 4. From that moment, I wanted to be a nurse, but I realized in later years I'd never liked blood, and a nurse to me was to make people feel better. I was always listening to the trees on our lane where I lived in Chedworth, Gloucestershire. That seemed so natural to me, just to lay underneath the trees, look up at the sky, feel the warmth of the sun on my face, close my eyes and just listen to the branches, to the trees, to the leaves, talk to me and speak to me. And I realized they held me, because in my little short life of being born, my mother died when I was 3 years old. So I went to live with my grandparents, and my grandparents were the most amazing people on this earth. But as a little child, I was heartbroken, and nature held me. It just held me, and it brought me healing. Um, and then as I used to lay underneath the trees, I used to look up at the sky, and I know that's where I came from. It wasn't here, it was from somewhere far, far away. And I remember in the Sofa, there's a book, The Pista Sophia, and it speaks how women are from Venus, that we are not off this planet, but we are from Venus. And then I noticed as an early age, as grown up from that age of 3.5, when my Granny Keen encouraged me, I would pick up on the energy of the houses, which we usually meant it was not nice energy. And I rather spend time with people's dogs than the humans themselves. And I always heard the messages when I was outside, and I was aware of spirit. But what I was aware of right from the very start, that I was watched over and protected every single day. And that was my life up until the age of 9, must have been about 9. My dad died when I was 7, and then I was 9 when my grandpa died, and that's when my world ended. Well, world, I'd say childhood. And at the age of 11, we emigrated, Nana and I, to Australia, and I never wanted to go to Australia, never connected to Australia. The only happiest time of Australia was when I was at high school, and I loved that. I was bullied when I went there because my accent was a Gloucestershire accent, and we really spoke with the farmer's accent. So, I must have sounded so strange. And my hair was cut short because that was what my aunt wanted, short hair. And I was told, I've had 2 daughters, so I know all the ins and outs of life, so don't try anything on. So literally heartbroken, homesick, I arrived in Australia. Maybe it'd been different if, I had gone to live with someone else. Maybe I would have connected to the land, but then I don't think that door was always going to be open. I am for eternally grateful, because even though my aunt was very strict, she did look after me, and she did provide me safety, security, a good upbringing. And then when I turned just about to turn 18, I decided to come back to England for a holiday. Voila, here I am. So, and then when I came back to England, that's when I started to open up again. And that's when I started to realize, yes, I was always protected. But it was funny, I was aware I was protected in Australia and everything turned up at the right time. But that connection to the land was never as strong as it was when I was in England. Maybe it was the fear of spiders in Australia that didn't want me to sit underneath any trees. But yeah, that's been my life. And I think from childhood, need, that strong need, without question, you know, when I look back, why would I want to put my hands on someone to make them feel better? Why did my great granny Keen realize that's what I was doing? Why did she encourage me? And though I didn't go on to be a nurse, what I did go on to be is a therapist at the Ragdale Hall Spa in Melton Mowbray from 2002 up until 2020. And that's when that door closed, firmly shut. And then my life for the last 4 years has been one of working from home and also working, looking after little babies. But even as I speak, I'm being reminded that I'm being guided to where I need to be, doing what I need to do, and um, still offering that guidance, but I'm being taught at the same time. Not taught, um, picking up the vibrations of what needs to be brought into this reality. So there I was, Celine, saying to you, I'm going to read my journal, and I have not read it, but that's a nutshell. I look back, by writing that all down, that made me realize doors open, doors shut, and there's a reason. So that's
Beautiful.
where I am.
And the word, you know what comes to mind when I listen to you there? I close my eyes for a while because there's a few things I want to touch on, but the book from Wayne Dyer, I can see clearly now. Now, he wrote it when he was a bit older, so I know you've a long way to go, but that's what strikes me. And I think this, for listeners, is a very, what you described, doors opening and doors closing, is a very powerful compass that we all have access to in our life. It's how spirit works, and whatever way you want to see spirit or nature or the universe or the creator, doesn't matter, but it's a really powerful compass. And I've experienced that too. Like if you're struggling and banging your head up against a brick wall, it's not time, or it's not for you. And what sort of is opening up, even if, as you said, I loved that as well about the courage. I think this is a really important theme in our conversation too. But that book, I can see clearly now, I read after cancer, and I just share one small little moment of it that resonates a lot with what you're saying, even as a child, and the challenges we go through and the challenging childhood you had. He talked about being in a foster home when he was 3 years old, and it was only as he got older that he could understand. I think he was in an orphanage, sorry, for a short while. And he said, now I know at that time my role, I was starting my training, let's say, my initiation in this life, because he said at 3 years old or 4, he remembered saying to other children that were being dropped into the orphanage, oh, don't worry, this is a great place here. There are no parents telling us what to do. So already he was in this sort of motivational type of energy. I found it such an empowering way to look at life. It's not always easy when we're in these dark periods, but you know, the message that I took from that is everything, like you said, the doors opening, the doors closing. This is the path of life. Does that sort of, I mean, that sounds very, I just think of you as well when you're talking there, that just straight away is a very powerful message for people to hear.
I totally agree with you. And when you were sharing that, I was sat here going, yeah, that's exactly what's happening, that's happened in my life. And it's strange. And also what struck me when like he ended up in an orphanage,
Mm.
and I realized just how lucky I could have gone into an orphanage, but I didn't. I asked to live with my grandparents at the age of 3 years old. This voice inside of me said, I want to live with my grandparents, because my dad had remarried, and again, I think I spoke about it in my previous video, but this voice inside of me, this 3-year-old little girl, said, no, I want something better. So I'm extremely lucky, because my nana and grandpa taught me all about love. And that's when also my awareness of spirit too, like a mother's love for a child, even though she's no longer on this earth plane as such, she is, that love was never broken. And each night I'd used to lay in bed at night and could feel her at the bottom of my bed. And though I didn't understand, because my great granny Keen at this stage had passed on, and I wish she'd have hung around a little bit longer to explain everything, because she was very much a medium herself and could see people as clearly as I can see you. But then again, that brought in that element of me always, like a lot of people, knowing that there's more to this life than what they teach us in the schools, that there's so much more. But I just love the way Wayne turned around to the children and said, oh, this is a wonderful
Mm.
place. No grown-ups to tell us what to do. And I agree, because I've had that freedom. I've had that freedom all through my life, where I've not had that responsibility or that expectations. I've always had that freedom. You just made me realize, Celine, from, like, there I was, 17, right, what I'm going to do with my life? I'm going to go to England, meet David Bowie. I'm going to marry him. Honestly,
Did you?
no. Quite glad, really,
Well,
right?
whatever it takes to get you home.
Yeah. And then I realized I've had this freedom, So out of the heartache, there is gold to be found.
I have to say, I think I really feel the energy of Wayne Dyer with us. I really do.
Yes.
And I felt it when I had cancer. I just feel it very strongly. And why I'm saying that now, what it brought me to say about him in an orphanage, I just got this image really strongly. You just mentioned to me before we came on about this sort of calling you're feeling to do readings and work with children. And I just want to say something before I ask this. I'm getting a really strong feeling around that. So we might talk about it. In my own, say, journey, which I'm still on, I am finding now that the more I've sort of, what you described at the beginning, coming back more into my own truth. Yes, I can take, and listen to whatever's going on in the world. But the more I'm coming back into my own truth and letting all these layers, doing the work of like the grieving, the healing, all of the things and conditioning I've taken on, I'm reconnecting so strongly with that child. So it's a really strong theme, it feels, for this conversation. And I said it to someone recently. I said, I actually had a huge block. If someone said to me, what were you like as a child? I had an image, I think, that was very different to how I actually was, and I could hardly remember it, but I'm feeling it now. So I suppose my point and question to you as well, from what you've been saying, is it seems a really important part of the journey or our experience in life is that as we reconnect to our heart and our truths, all of the things that we've picked up along the way to say that you're this, you're this, you're this, we end up coming back to what we naturally were drawn to as a child, because that is who we are, that strong connection. Can you talk a little bit more about that in your work? Because I just feel that's another very, let's say, important practical maybe step for people in terms of how we can do this day to day, is the reconnection with ourselves as a child has changed everything for me. And I
Yes.
thought I had done this work, but I hadn't.
Yes. No, yes, because it was interesting listening to what you said, because in my mind, I I it wasn't me that remembers having this voice that said I want to live with my grandparents. It wasn't until a few years ago that my older brother said to me, actually, Jenny, it was you that asked to go and move. To me, my memory as a child, once my mum died, was one of like, and then my dad died. I thought, oh no, nobody, what have I done wrong? Why doesn't my mum and dad love me? Why have they left me? Why have they done this and that? Why, and almost like my stepmother, never being able to please her, no matter what I did. She was always, she was a stereotype wicked stepmother, so to speak. But then my brother said to me, he goes, but Jen, it was you that said, I want to move, I want to live with my grandparents. And when he said that, a massive shift in healing occurred. Massive. I realized I wasn't the victim, that this 3-year-old little girl has got this voice. And even though I grew up, and especially moving to Australia, like I was told, you're too quiet, your voice is too squeaky, why don't you speak up? Why are you so shy? And then like by being true to who I've always been, that child, so that I knew as a little girl, all I wanted to do was be a healer. All I wanted to do was make people feel better. I was so in tune with nature, I was so in tune with, when I look back and I can vividly remember this nursing home, the amount of light that was coming into this room. It wasn't because of the lighting, it was the light that's in the room. So, I've just got goosebumps all through my tummy.
Me too. And like
Yeah,
behind you,
yeah.
there's
So
beautiful light coming in.
that must be an element of truth, that as children, the veil is very, very thin. And as a child, I saw the true reality of the place. Like there was these people that needed convalescing, and the light pouring in was the light from the divine. And then when I went to work at Ragdale Hall, I started there as a beauty therapist, and then in 2009, I spoke up again. So there's a catalyst that when I seem to speak up and say my truths, massive change is occurring. This is what's coming to me as I talk to you. And then I said to them, look, I'd really like to do angel cards. And because Ragdale's a very established place and people go there to relax, you couldn't have somebody coming in and go, oh, your marriage is going to end in 6 months, or, oh, you're going to run off. It had to be of service, of some use. So the angel cards, how I worked with them and how I wanted to, and no, it wasn't how I wanted to, it was how I was shown that I needed to work with them, is to empower other people. So the angel card readings was all about, what do you need to know that's going to help you on your journey and your path? Because sometimes we can't see the bigger picture, but the angel cards and the tarot cards show you that bigger picture, that the potential. And I'd love to say I link into spirit guides, but I don't. And I did a few months ago try, and then the novelty wore off. And I don't. I tune into the essence of the person I'm reading for. That's who I tune into. I don't tune into anything other than, when I do the reading for somebody, I tune into their essence of who they are, and I feel their essence, and I feel what needs to be said and shared. And yes, sometimes loved ones come in, and that is something I'm always been interested in, and it's the mediumship. But yeah, I work with the essence of somebody. What is it they need to know that's going to help them and guide them on their path? And that's my passion, from the early little baby that was born into this reality to now as the 56-year-old woman I am.
Snap. I admit it in public.
I admit it in public. We've
I've
done
no
well.
problem. Yeah, we've done great. And it really strikes me, isn't it wonderful to sort of realize all of this, to have sort of awoken to a lot of this in yourself and in myself at this age. And we're still really young. And
Yes.
I think this is the powerful time. It's also connected that we're living in, like what you described there as a child. So it's, to me, we designed all of this before we came. I just feel this, and we come in knowing exactly who we are. And the age of 3 seems to be coming up in our conversation, because that's what I remember Wayne Dyer said. You said it. I have a memory around the age of 3. So there's something about that age but that we know very clearly. And then because of a lot of what happens in our life, we have to shut it down, because what you described as a child, feeling and sensing and seeing, and I think we talked about this in the last conversation, I felt that too. I think you woke me up to that, because I was like, oh, I think that is how I was. But it was so, and I think this goes back many generations ancestrally, this wound, because I genuinely do feel this now, that probably in previous lifetimes we were burnt at the stake or something, because it has brought up a lot of terror in me to be completely myself. So I think this, what you describe here, again, for anyone maybe struggling or, trying to work out what is it, who am I here to be, and how is it I don't feel really truly myself, that I'm being myself, is that this is sort of a path. Like, you're now, once you start to clear away all of the things you've picked up that are not you, it just becomes like the light. As you said, you're like a lighthouse of emanating who you are. Like, it sounds to me you're like back. I don't know if you lost it, because you said, as your voice was obviously there. I mean, that's incredible. As you say, every time you spoke up, something happened, even if it wasn't every day. So that has led you to the work you're doing now with the readings. So talk maybe a little bit more about the work practically, and how you can support people. You've been on such a journey yourself, and I think that is what is really, for me, resonates when I work or go to anyone, is they're on this path, they're doing the work themselves. So it's very authentic and lived. So yeah, just talk a little bit more about all of the things, the readings. You do past life regressions, I think, as well, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I do past life regressions. I do. A lot of people know it's Reiki, but my form of hands-on healing, I connect to the sun, I connect to the earth now. But one of the things that this other guy was saying was like, 2020 happened, and there was a big shift in the energy. It was prophesized these times. But he always said to me, go back to 2019, and what was your focus on then? What was drawing you? And for me, it was the readings. It was to do with numerology, and it was to do with shamanic healing as well. And then I will get to I realize I'm not answering your question.
No. This is all very important. This is all part of it. So yeah, please do
Brilliant,
share.
brilliant. So with the realization that the New Age movement was created to become like a cul-de-sac that would draw people down that little route, and then you become stuck. And when I started, therefore, to really kind of like question like the New Age, what's about, what is the truth, what is happening, what is occurring, what it almost like strips back. And hence writing in the journal, it's like, what is the truth? What are we living on? What is this reality? Is manifestation a real thing? And if so, then why aren't we all living the life? So it's really kind of like made me question so much, that it's brought me back to my roots of like, right, these readings I'm offering now alongside my angel card readings. And now I'm offering these readings. I'm just in the process of creating for children, because I feel this isn't a school or a kindergarten. We're not here to grow and evolve. We've chosen to come here for a reason, and take on the body of Sophia, um, and all of her qualities and all of her strengths. And again, the accident with my tooth made me realize that I don't have to be strong. I'm already strong. So my passion, again, this drive and passion within me, is to share with parents, your baby that has just been incarnated or born into this realm has come with these gifts and these talents. And they're not here to learn life lessons. They're here to be creators of their life. They have got so much potential and so much within them that if we can have a little glimpse into their potential, we can support them and nurture them spiritually so they can grow strong and authentic in their sovereign being. And that's the driving force behind these readings that I'm creating. So I'm looking at someone's date of birth. It reveals so much about them, and the type of numerology I'm using isn't the mainstream one. It's the one that dates back to the Hebrew, the Chaldeans. I don't know if that's correctly pronounced, but it's like they look at the numbers 1 to 8 and they see them as significant, and not the number 9 is quite powerful. So they don't use the number 9 when they're working out your name. It doesn't come up. And it gives you so much insight into that person. And then, like, you know, I'm writing this up for this little boy. He isn't even a year. But it's incredible, Celine. It's really incredible. It's like in his date of birth and in his name, it reveals like who he is. And I'm writing away on the typewriter. That's very old-fashioned. We haven't got typewriters, have we? Laptop, typing
Probably
away.
are somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just connecting with him. It's like what I'm writing isn't like, oh, and this is what you are. It's like I'm connecting with him, and I can feel his essence. And it's almost like
Mm.
he's speaking through the numbers to say to his, you know, and I just think, what a beautiful, beautiful, incredible soul he is, you know. And because I do look after 2 days a week at babies, you know, I look at them and each of them have their own little characters, their own, you know, minds. They've got their own minds and determination. And I'm in awe of them, you know, and it's just reminded me why we are here. I don't think we were ever meant to suffer the way we have. And, you know, when I read, the books I'm reading, they're very old. And, you know, it talks about the planets. And again, Ola says the planets were put into place to control us. The astrology and the planets is like the net, the fisherman's net that was placed upon us. And they do influence us. They do have a power over us. And but once we're aware of what they are and what they mean, we can use it to our benefit to then live the empowered lives that we came here to live. So that's where I am at this moment in time.
Wow. I love that about the children. That feels, it's two things now, and I don't want to forget. There's so many directions again it could go. I really, that is just such a powerful gift, that working with the children and the numerology, because my feeling, and I've just various people I've spoken to, but I feel it like you said, we're at a time, even with the astrology. Now, I study astrology, but what I love about the teacher that I work with, nothing is about this is all fated and this is going to happen to you. It's like understanding the world that we've come into, and then how do we work that? But
Yeah.
we are sovereign creator beings.
Yeah.
We are a fractal. I know this in my heart and soul. You know, nobody can tell me different, because I feel it in every cell of my body now. I think this is the difference, and this is the consciousness that is available on the planet. As the previous woman I interviewed said, God consciousness is available on the planet now, and we are anchoring it. So, you know, this through us. So yeah, I mean, there is nothing, I'm not really for learning anything that limits me. You know, if I feel, oh, this really opens up and expands me, it's for me. If I feel very tight and restricted by it, no. And it's like what you said, no, one door opening, closing, that sort of power is within us. And it is us, the children, sorry, that you're, so it strikes me now that the children who are coming on the planet are not coming in maybe with all the, because the consciousness is different. And So they're not coming in with all of those sort of, they're not going to go into all these layers of conditioning. So what you're offering seems very timely, as in everything you have been through in your own life. You started talking by when you were 3 years old. It's like it's nearly leading you to supporting children who are coming in ready to like go, you know. And I agree with you. I don't think we were necessarily designed to suffer, but at the same time, we came into a realm where there's all of this, whatever you want to call it, matrix, net, I don't know, illusion there that we got trapped in. So as a
Yeah.
result, we did suffer.
Yeah,
But so
correct.
people might say, well, I am suffering. Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
I've suffered, but this is what we're coming out of. Is
Yeah.
that sort of as well what you're, so it strikes me that's the awakening that's happening in me and has been since I had cancer. And then you're seeing all these young people who are coming and they don't need to go through this. So
Yeah.
it just sounds you're a very powerful, there's a very powerful, something very powerful happening right now for you in terms of your work. I mean, I know you do so much. That to me just seems, it's just how, I mean, that's just magic. I can't even, I don't have children, but I can just, if I had, I think I'd be running to you straight away for a reading. Like, that's really magical. Like, I'm seeing it in my own birth chart to astrology, but the way we're looking at it is I'm looking at the potential. It's not, you know, oh my God, this is what's destined for you. Not at all. It's if I'd learned it earlier, I might have made different decisions, but no, I wouldn't. So sorry, I'm not asking you a question now, but I just feel this is really. Have you just talk a little bit more of that? So have you actually done any readings for people? You're in the process of doing one for someone.
Yes.
Is it with a young child,
Yes.
with a
I mean,
1-year-old?
I started doing the in-depth readings for adults. I did, and I've done quite a few. And people have said to me, "Oh my gosh, it's like you know me." It's like, and the weird thing is, when I was at Ragdale, I used to do color readings. I did, which was based on numerology, but I associated them with color, so it was a color reading. And like, I always remember this one lady, I was reading for her, and I took her back to her childhood, and I was and again, it's like, I suppose, linking in with the divine wisdom, or spirit. She fell asleep because she goes, I took her back to her childhood. She described it to a T, and it just made her feel so warm and happy. And then like, um yeah, it was weird. It was weird, actually. I will be honest. I was listening to Chris Evans. I was coming back from going to Leicester, listening to Chris Evans, and he was interviewing Marion Keyes, who's wrote the book My Favorite Mistake. And so I was listening to that, and I don't normally listen to the radio or TV because I don't like it. And then I had this strong urge to go into town because I wanted to see this new place that opened up. Went past W.H. Smith, saw this massive poster advertising a book, but I couldn't remember her name or the book. But Marion struck a chord. So I went into W.H. Smith and said, "Oh, how much is that book?" And she goes, "It's half price." And unbeknown to me, I went, "All right, I'll buy it." Whereas normally I'm like, "Ooh, I don't know. I'm very wise now with money." But I bought it because it was half price, and it's half price everywhere, so it's good. And then it was like the following Saturday, I was reading it in bed, and it was she's talking about, like, she saw these butterflies and then decided to move from America and move back to Ireland based on these butterflies. They were a sign from spirit. That's the right thing to do. And obviously she moved back to Ireland. I haven't finished the book. I'm just at that stage where she's thinking, "Holy Moses, what have I done? I've left a well-paid job and I moved back to Ireland." And then this, just something inside of me just went, "Oh, this is what I need to do. I need to do readings for children. It's all very well doing them for adults, but the children need them. The parents need them for the children." And that's how, and then again, that's that inspiration and that wisdom that comes through at that moments where it's not thinking about it, it just comes out of nowhere. And that's when we're being guided and helped. And that in bed, when I was nice and relaxed, um, I heard that message. And just getting back to yes, there is suffering on this planet. And and though I said, like, I don't believe for a minute we should have had suffering. When a mother brings a child into the life, they don't want their child to suffer. They want their child to grow and evolve and be the best version of them, and have the life that they want, and make mistakes, and whatever, but ultimately be happy and content. But because of this net that has been put over us, whether we call it the net, the matrix, or the illusion, like you say, it has created huge amount of suffering. And I think then we could become trapped in this cycle of like, we need to um we need to heal this aspect of us. And I'm not saying we should or shouldn't, but what I'm hearing and what I'm feeling by listening to you, Celine, and hearing, is like, we need to go back to our child when we're here. Goosebumps again. Ask our little girl, little boy, our inner child, what is it that we wanted to do when we arrived? And by reconnecting to that little person that came into this planet, we find our truths again, and we find that clarity. And then when we write it down into a journal and be brutally honest, and then we look back on our lives and we write down everything that's happened, how these doors open, these doors close, it then gives us the clarity and the strength to go, yeah, I'm here right now. What's next? I feel like I've gone round in a circle again.
No, that's, oh my God, that is just, I could feel that when you said it. It's just so, in one way, it's quite simple. It mightn't always be easy, but sometimes you have to go on a big long journey to get back to what's simple and
Yeah.
very, but exactly as you said, the children seem to be coming up really strongly in our conversation and interview, which I don't think, well, I hadn't necessarily planned, but I think there's something yeah, so important in that for an adult who's listening. So firstly, this is just for anyone with a young child. If this is something that really interests you, definitely, I'll have all of Jen's contact details in the description box. But as an adult, because this has been hugely transformative for me recently, so if somebody is listening and going, yeah, I sort of get that I'm getting glimpses of as a child, because I sort of feel that, go back to what naturally came to, if you were stressed, if you time, what were you drawn to? If you're finding difficulty with that, which I did, because there was still a lot of layers and blocks, can you support people in that? So if somebody who's listening is saying, yeah, I'd really love to do that, can you work with them? How would you work with them to do that?
Yeah. What all I would need from somebody, it doesn't really matter what age they are. All I need is a date of birth and the name, the full name on the birth certificate. And then I can do I go away and research their name and what it means and the date of birth. And then I put together a beautiful Zoom meeting where I can share with them everything that I found, and even to, I suppose, to that extent where I can email the information too. So anyone who's feeling a bit stuck or needs, like, it's all very well me saying, and like you, I mean, I have done a lot of soul searching, I have done a lot of different paths of like, why has this happened to me, and healing. And therefore, me to say, oh, it's as simple as just look back to your chart. It's not that simple for some people. It's not. And sometimes, like you said, with the astrology, what you love about it is it's like she's teaching you, this is the big picture. But it doesn't mean to say this, you go in the following the path of destiny. It's like this is empowering you of all the strengths of what these planets mean, etc. And I think that's what the numerology can do. It can just remind somebody of what is within them. And um also what I want to mention too is like the energy of numbers is so powerful. So if you think we were all born in 19 such and such, 68, so forth,
Yes.
we've got the energy of one, and one is about new beginnings. One is about what I've felt was like we've come in, all of us have come in with that energy of like standing our ground now. Whereas the energy of 2024, so the energies of the two, so these children coming in are bringing in the energy of expression, of being in tune with their feelings, being in tune to who they are. And I think that's why the media is doing its utmost power to confuse poor children of their sexuality and messing with biology. Yeah, everyone's an individual. It's clear from the numerology, but it's biology at the end of the day. And I think what they're trying to do is really mess with the children's heads. It's almost like they've coming in with this energy and they're portraying on the media and with the celebrities, you know, and it's almost like I don't want to say to people, don't buy into that, because the energy of 2024 is marching to the beat of our own drum, is embracing our power and taking control of our lives again. Excuse me. And that's the energy of 2024 for every single person, animal, everyone on this planet, embracing your power and taking control of your lives and marching to the heartbeat of your own personal drum. And the first part of this year is all about the imposter syndrome, where we don't think we're good enough. Who am I to say something? Like I said to you when I was going to be interviewed by you, and I'm like, I've listened to all the amazing people that you've interviewed, and then I had that wobble yesterday where I was like, but who am I to speak? Who am I? I feel like everything I've learned I've been down that cul-de-sac, and now I'm having to strip away everything that I've learned and ask myself, based upon my experience of life, what is true and not true. That I strongly believe synchronicity is a very powerful force. When we are in tune with that energy, the right person, the right situation arrives, and intuition, I think, is very real. Spirit of the land, spirit of our ancestors, I think that's very, very real. But this materialistic, where we feel we have to have this big house and this big mansion and this big car and manifesting, that keeps us trapped in that matrix of illusion and the net. Whereas, you know, to me, one of the things that struck me is like when I look back on previous old journals, it's like, well, I need to be this ideal weight, I need to look 10 years younger. When I thought, why am I wasting my life thinking that? Why can't I have that hot chocolate jam donut? What really matters to me is ultimately is understanding this reality that we live on, that search for wisdom, that esoteric, occult wisdom has always been the driving force, and experiencing life, experiencing feeling the sun on our faces in the morning, our feet on the grass, the experience of love, you know, of everyday life. That's surely more important. But yeah, powerful energy 2024.
That is just amazing to hear, that marching to the beat of our own drum. But
Isn't
and
it?
I think everything, I love that. And I think I talked to you before about drumming, and I'm actually going on a drumming and heart song workshop this weekend. And it's just, I can feel that, as you say it, that is the energy in the air. I can feel it. I mightn't have put those words to it. Astrologically, I think as well, you know, whatever, what's the right word, but whatever maybe metaphysical tools or subjects you study, you know, you know, everything is sort of nearly pointing to that. And I think if you're in tune, I suppose as well, that is so powerful. So for somebody who's coming to you, firstly, with a young, if they had a young child or a baby born this year or last year, that's a very strong energy that's in the air. So you can help them sort of work through the numerology to help them understand maybe what that child is here to express, so they can support it. But they can also, as you said, back in our year, it was like new, my God, I feel like I've had a lot of new beginnings. Yeah, so there's a different energy. That's a really important message. There's a different energy supporting us now. So even if you are older, I think it still strikes me there's a different sort of support network in place energetically for us if you choose even now to say, Yeah, I'm just beginning to feel that my life isn't as satisfying as it was. So, we're all like, I feel it's like little lights designed to go on at different times, this sort of um whatever journey we chose to have in this life or whatever we chose to do. So, but for people who are feeling it maybe just now, which I think there are going to be a lot of people this year, I feel it around me and even in the last few years. So the work that you can do with them, really, it's like it can happen quite quickly, is my feeling, that everything has sped up. So even if you're carrying a lot of pain or whatever it is, that there is that capacity to move through it quite quickly. Do you feel that, just, or
Yes,
how would
yes, I
you?
do. Because in like whenever I do something new, I never go to a book and read how you should do it. I always like am being guided and helped um to create. So in order to create these readings for the children, I look at my date of birth, and I look at my name, and then I'm getting insights into me, and then that gives me, oh well, that's the reason why I'm the way I am. That's the way, that's my potential, that's my passion, that's my calling. This is what ignites my fire within me. So I found it extremely powerful. And again, because it's not the mainstream numerology, and again, it's not about my destiny, it's about who I am, that is really matters. And then like that understanding, well, this is who I am. Um, it's almost like the doors are opening. It's almost like not knowing who I am kept certain doors closed because I had to stop and just go within. And like you said at the very beginning, we feel like we sometimes have to be in a rush. And when we're in the car, like yesterday, there was these lights in random places in Melton, and we're always rushing to get somewhere. But when we're forced to stop, when those doors are closed on us, they're there to force us to stop and simply be. And that's what's happened, I think, over the last 4 years of leaving Ragdale, because it was like Ragdale was my identity. That was who I was. I knew I was Jenifer Taylor, the holistic therapist who did angel card readings at Ragdale. And when that door closed, I grieved badly for the place. And then the door opened, they said, come back. And then I went back for 9 months, and then I realized I changed. But then I know that door's always open. I had a recent conversation when they said the door's always open. We want you to come back. We'd love you to come back. And that's a lovely feeling of security, even though I know that door, I don't know if that path is the path for me. But in that element of like, in that journal that I was writing, what I'm trying to say was on this, which I haven't read, but as I was going through, I really felt at this point, like I thought, oh my God, I screw, not choosing to go back to Ragdale, I've slammed that door shut. And I really felt so lost up until I had that light bulb moment. I thought, who am I? What am I supposed to be doing? And I felt like all the doors around me that I'd known and trusted were shut. And it was literally listening to my intuition of like, and then listening to Chris Evans, that door opened, and then that door opened to go into Melton, and then go into W.H. Smith, and then that door opened, get that book, that door opened, read that book. And then in that daydreaming state of reading the book and contemplating what she was saying, letting the words just sit with me, that light bulb door opened. Right, this is what you need to do, Jen. This is what you need to do. And yeah, I keep going back to doors opening, doors closing.
Yeah, when I hear you as well, I think, yeah, that exactly. It's like, and I've had that experience too, it's like life can become quite simple. I'm back to that again. like I've had all of these doors opening and closing as well. But as we start to, it seems to me, sorry, now I just got lost in listening to that because I can sort of feel it in my body, that what you mentioned earlier, even around the children and the confusion that's being created, like anything to me that you're listening to or absorbing that is sort of closing you down and sort of confusing you, is because these doors are naturally open as well, and these children who are coming in. And it just comes back to how powerful we are when we come to know ourselves beyond what we're being told. Then you start to listen. As you said, okay, this door open, yes, great, I can move towards that. This isn't working out, everything seems closed, I feel really lost. Go back inside again, slow down, you'll be shown the next door. So it's almost, again, for listeners, sorry, this sounds a little bit convoluted, but my sense is if you're feeling very, we talked about it earlier, very confused, there's an awful lot going on and distracted, that is the sign that you need to come back in and slow down, and you will be shown the next door that will open if you're feeling everything is shut. Because what you describe with the children, absolutely, all of this confusion, and I'm not pro or against anything, but anything that is not supporting anyone to be completely themselves, well, yes, then yes, I don't support that. But yeah, that's really wow, that's just been so inspiring to listen to, Jen. Is there anything else you want to talk about in terms of the mediumship as well? Like they're all connected to coming back to doors opening, because to me that's another door. It's another door to our connection to ourselves, to our powers and what's
Yes.
available to us.
I'm still I'm still questioning the whole spirit guides because no, no, because I've got some really dear friends who have got some amazing spirit guides, and I think because we're all different individuals, we all have different experiences. But the mediumship, I would love to share with you that we are loved. And even though we can't see them as clearly as what they can clearly see us, I don't feel like we're ever on our own, because I know I'm being guided. But what I'd love to share with you today, which is really exciting, and I know this is going to go out next week, so I'm happy to share. My daughter is due any day now, and she messaged me this morning to say, "Mum, I'm starting to have contractions." I know. So
Wow.
I looked out the window this morning in the garden, and fair play, Glyn had been getting some newspapers out to clean the barbecue with, that's the reason why. But I looked on the lawn, and I can send you the photo. And I thought, what's that piece of newspaper on the lawn? What is it? And I went to have a look, and it's a crossword. It's, it was
Crossword puzzle.
literally folded. I put it in the bin, but it was literally folded like this. On here was the crossword, and it said the Leicester Mercury. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's Emma's grandma. Emma's grandma died 2 years ago. No, it would take us to 2022, won't it? But I saw that as a sign, because grandma loved doing her crosswords, always did her crosswords, always. She felt like if she did her crosswords, that keep her mind very active. And I thought, Emma's gone in and having contractions. Baby could be born today, tomorrow, the next day, whenever she wants to come. And that's grandma saying, I'm here, I'm watching over her. And I thought, and I said to Glyn, he goes, well, I said, yeah, it could be any bit of the newspaper. It was the crossword puzzle on the paper. I wish I'd brought it into the house now, but I was just blown away how powerful spirits, how powerful our loved ones are. And even though we may not always feel them, they're always watching over us and sending us signs, whether it's a butterfly, whether it's a robin, or whether it was phenomenal like this crossword puzzle. in the Leicester Mercury, which was the newspaper she always read, I just was like blown away. Blown away.
Is beautiful. Just to hear that today, there
Yeah.
is a whole, if, and again, this is always down to each person. If it's something that's calling you, you know, why not open it? It's another door that
Yeah.
is opening in my life, I have to say, as well. And I never planned it. So I think what you said about if you're feeling something, whatever it happens to be, trust it. I think we've been, well, my experience and my sense, and it's changing as we're marching to the beat of our own drum this year and from this year, is that we have sort of been led away from our own inner truth and knowing, because we have a knowing. And we
Yes,
all
we
know
do.
our gut instinct, whatever words you want to use, your intuition, your gut instinct. You can, for someone maybe who doesn't, hasn't really connected with sort of more mediumship or people who have passed, even just knowing, you can walk into a situation and your stomach will tell you very quickly. And that isn't saying there's anything wrong with you. That is your compass that is saying, door, close this door there. So yeah, it just sounds like, yeah, it's another tool that's available to support us. Do you find like that's,
Oh,
yeah,
massively,
yeah,
massively. Like
yeah.
when, you know, so fundamentally, whatever we want to call it that's been placed over us is over us. But nothing can deny the fact that where we live, whether we call it around the world, the planet, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But whatever we're living on and in is very magical, very magical. And there's more to this world than we have been taught. And magic is real, it does exist. And one of the things that always struck me, like, was two things. Last night, after thinking to myself, oh, who am I? The imposter syndrome kicked in. And then I left you a message. And then I went in the garden and I just heard the word fairies. So fairies, the fairy elementals are very real. And one of the things I want to share with you also is like another amazing guy I listen to on and off. I happened to listen to one of his podcasts, and he was saying, just keep that energetic field around you. Keep it, that's your psychic ability, that's your energetic field, and don't get into debates. Don't give your energy away. He goes, if someone says something to you and goes, I think you're such and such, just look them in the eye and go, okay, whatever, and walk off. And then you keep your field, that energy field around you, so intact and strong and beautiful. But like you said, we're all born with this inner compass, all born with that gut feeling. And our gut never lies to us. It never lies whatsoever. And then that takes us back to the divine feminine wisdom, doesn't it, Celine? It's like they speak about not being in our head space, but going back into our wombs. And I always see it as like these steps going down deep into the womb. And in my womb is this cave. And whenever I go inwards into that cave, I'm always greeted by this beautiful woman. And most of the time she's very wise and elegantly old. But she embraces me and holds me, and she says, sit by the fire and simply be. And that, is extremely, because I never shared with you that, did I? When I had to go and have my tooth pulled out and everything, I was practicing that technique of, like, I just saw these golden stairs. And I was going down into my room, and then she would hold me. And then sometimes I'd used to go off on the river, this sea or this water, and travel. And it took me out of the outside world and back into my inner world. And there she held me. There I felt safe and comforted and strong. So no matter what he was doing to my mouth, I was being held within me. And then I could deal with, it gave me, it helped me deal with whatever was happening in my mouth. And the recovery was incredible. So we all have that inner cave within us. We all got that person, whether, if it's a man, he will have in his womb, because men have wombs too, he will have that person who's watching over him, who is his best friend, who only cares for him. And that's in us. It's not out there, it's not up there, it's in us. And when you look at all the Buddhas and the goddesses, they're all, their heads are bowed and they're looking inwards, because that's where our power lies.
And that's why there's so much noise outside, to keep us away from that. So let's turn off all the noise and come back into that stillness, because that's where all the answers are, aren't they? I mean, we hear it, but it's real, and it's who we are. And if anyone, again, listening, wants support and guidance around tuning into that part of themselves, I've needed it a lot. I still do. We are here to collaborate and support and guide and share with each other. I think that's the most important thing. And you have it's just so clear to me. And even why we're talking again today, that something is very, I wouldn't say ready is the wrong word, but this door is opening. And it's time. It's like you're here as well to support, because you've marched to the beat of your own drum, Jen. And it's like, now it's time for you, even on another level. You've already always been doing it, to support children, adults, to march to their beat of their own drum. And I don't think there's any greater gift any of us can be given. So thank you, because you've helped me start to march to the beat of my own drum. I'll be saying that now for the rest of the the week. What final words would you like to finish on? Because I think it's just, again, I'm always conscious of, we could talk for longer, people's time. Really just wanted to give another sense of who you are, what you're doing, feel your energy, the work that you do to support people and young children, which I just think is off the charts right now. It's time, and it's such a wonderful gift. Anything else you would like to share with people before we finish up?
Yeah. Two things. When I was listening to you, what I heard was like, you're bringing together the tribe, you're bringing the tribe back together. And whoever's listening to us, there are people that you've chatted with that can help each and every one of us. We all bring in something to the pot, to the cauldron. So you are bringing the tribe back together again. One of the other things I'd love to share with you, and this is it. We don't always have to be super strong. We don't always have to seek help, to seek guidance, to say, I'm struggling a little bit here. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign that you're ready for the change. You're on that cusp of being a butterfly. So if anyone's dealing with something that's just beyond them, and they're just feeling, because there are times when we all, including myself, where we just feel, I can't take any more. That's the time when we speak up. And again, it's that voice, isn't it? We speak up and we say to somebody, this is how I feel. And the person would be there to support them and listen. And so it's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of great strength.
Thank you, Jen. I'm not going to add any more to that, because I think they're just beautiful words to finish on. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. All of Jen's contact details will be in the description box. Do please reach out. Thank you very much, Jen. It was such a pleasure, as always, to talk to you.
Thank you, Celine. It's been an absolute honor and pleasure to be in your company again. Thank you.
Thank you.